apologies for 906. I don't know if you have these problems or not, but like when you want to put on, traditionally I'll put on our SDH, zip up, pullover deal, to come down here. It's like a Mr. Rogers moment, when you wake up, you come downstairs, you're ready. And Detroit Express today from the dearly departed North American Soccer League version 1. And my Mr. Rogers moment, when I come downstairs, I put the jacket on, sit down, get ready to go. Yes, Michael Pro, we're going to talk about it, and I know that your ears have been burning the whole time. So I come down this morning, and I've got the jacket on, or trying to get the jacket on, and I guess technically this is opening kickoff. Wasting no time, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, as I cover up the QR code for hour number 2. Don't forget to use the code SOCCER15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There you go. Okay. So, I'm putting the jacket on, or at least I think I am. And I'm doing it behind my back. It's like one sleeve, two sleeve. Everything's fine. You put one sleeve in. And then, as you're trying to put a jacket on, you're trying to find that second sleeve. And for whatever reason, it's not cooperating. It's inside out, and you didn't know it was inside out, or it's just like off at a bad angle, and you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I put my jacket on? That's what I was doing. That's why I was late this morning, because I couldn't find sleeve number 2 to put my hand in, so I could be ready down here in the office, which is massively climate controlled and bordering a refrigerator. So that was why I was late. I apologize for that. But dial it up. We got stuff to talk about. We'll talk about it. And we've got post-game sound from Gonzalo Pineda. 6.5 minutes. That was the length of the press conference opportunity last night after the match involving Gonzalo Pineda and the questions that came from Doug Robertson of the AJC. We're going to play about half of it because, it was the same things, but literally 6.5 minutes worth of content. We're going to play half because I want you to hear. Yes, you can read a quote, you can sit there and, understand what somebody is saying, but I want you to hear what Gonzalo Pineda said after the match. We've got the 2 goals. We'll play those 2. We'll talk about it all. Atlanta United loses in Philly last night, 3-2. And we'll get into Alex Chilowitz. We'll get into Pro. We'll get into it all. So whatever's on your mind, lay it out in the queue, and we'll discuss. Morning, Alex. Morning, Five Stripe. Morning, David. Morning, Michael. Morning, Dunga. Like I said, line up your questions. So, traditionally, you guys know this. I'll take notes when I'm watching a match. I don't think I've ever used as many capital letters and choice words writing down notes than I did last night. And I will wait to reserve some Philadelphia comments for when I see Rich in the Twitch pitch. So Rich, just wave your hand. And I will say what I'm going to say specifically about Philadelphia when Rich comes in. If he doesn't come in after, say, the first half hour, then I may say them anyway, and then Rich can go back and listen. But I have some things to say about Philly. They're not all bad, and that's why I want Rich to listen, because I want it to be dialed up. So I want Rich to know what a lot of us feel, especially here that are attached to this show, this network, to Twitch pitch, Discord, all that. So there's some comments about Philly. I'm going to hang on to them until Rich comes in and waves his hand. So early on Jesus Bueno gets injured, and it looked like it was a knee-to-knee thing, and he only lasted 8 minutes. Then Jose Martinez, who was apparently not 90 minutes fit, he had to come in the 12th minute, basically, to fill in for Jesus Bueno. His future, don't know. He'll be examined. He was examined after the match. He'll come in, and obviously they'll examine him, and they'll try and figure out how he is laying everything out coming up in short order. So, it might help, actually, if folks want to participate in the show this morning, if I actually would, I don't know. Let folks know how they can dial in. So nothing like doing a little housekeeping, because John has a fit of stupid trying to get on the show this morning. So, all right. So Jared will be joining us in short order because John forgot to send the show link. I know that'll surprise you. All right. So you end up with an injury from Jesus Bueno in the 8th minute. Then Jose Martinez comes in the 12th. We have our first moment in the 13th minute. Nathan Harriel, handball. It was a handball. We'll go through the game. We'll go through the match. We'll go through everything after the match, what was said. We'll do this in chronological order. So Nathan Harriel, handball, it went down. It went down. Reviewed, not called a handball. Ends up being a goal kick. Gigi called for offside in the 21st. Foul on Gigi was called off the shoulder on set piece. Mateus Osechu had a fantastic night defensively as the 6 in this offense. Wiley had a mishit cross in the 29th minute. Miles had a header that was grabbed by Blake. Mateus Osechu again in the 32nd. Yellow card from Jack Elliott. Then Almada comes in from 25. Blake saved Muyumba in the 36th minute. Then you end up with the second moment attached. And it was apparently Alex Chilowitz was reaching for the spray, having a bit of a discussion. Philly decided to do a quick restart. While he was reaching for the spray, they score. Gazdag makes it 1-0. Then it was a goal in the 41st from Michael Ua. Carranza scores at 45 plus 2. Atlanta allowing transitional opportunities. You end up with 3 goals scored in basically 8 minutes. Down 3-0 at that point. Then early second half, Blake and Silva combine. Shande Silva has a shot. Blake has to save it in the 46th and the 47th. 48th minute, once again, Nathan Harriel. Another handball. But apparently he didn't make himself bigger. Set piece from Thiago Almada sets up a corner. VAR, Carranza, and an elbow. And this one, the third one, gives you this moment, once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. It was 3-0 until this.
0 for 3 on penalties this year. Almada 1 for 3 on penalties. Hands-on hits for Thiago Almada. Chilowitz blows his whistle. Almada up to the ball. He strikes it. Score! And Atlanta United gets one back here in the 56th minute. It's 3-1 Philadelphia. Thiago Almada's 11th MLS goal of the year. 0 for 3 on penalties.
There you go. All right, so I've got to fix the loop thing too. It's amazing what you've got to fix. All right, so it's 3-1 at that point. Then Brad gets a kick save in the 63rd to keep it at 3-1. Game starts to get stretched, even more so with about 25 to go. Gonzalo goes to the bench, brings in Jay Fortune and Mosqueda for Hosechu and Silva. Almada with a shot in the 70th with 20 to go. Big save, Andre Blake again. Then the ball goes off of Martinez's hand again. Subs again, Gigi and Etienne out. Tiare and Saba. Let's see. So Gigi and Saba out, Tiare, Etienne in. Martinez finally gets his yellow card with about 15 to go. It's about time. Brooks Lennon had the near miss at the near post. Then Tiade gets a yellow on Martinez. Really? Sure. Okay, fine. Blake saves Muyimba. Then with 13 to go, you have this moment that made it 3-2. Once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game of the Odyssey app, Mike and Jason on the call.
Mascara dribbles into the box, right side. Ahead to Lennon at the end line. Cut back, cross, shot! Diving tape link. Rebound inside the 6. Muyimba, Tatian, shot! Score! It's 3-2! Mascara! And Atlanta United is right back in it in the 77th minute.
Okay. So then 10 to go. Harriel gets a yellow on Mosqueda. Set piece. Philly subs out. Tiade had a shot just over the crossbar with about 5 to go. Barry comes in. They go for 2 up top. Lennon can't control it off the skip. That was another close call with a handful of minutes to go. They called Jay Fortune on a foul on Jose Carranza, on Carranza. Sure. 7 minutes were added, and you end up with Real with a foul and a set piece, Abram with a header. Blake saves Tiade at 94-30, and the game ended the way that it ended with Atlanta United, setting up for a corner, but then Alex Chilowitz blows his whistle. So there we are. Jarrett, before we play the post-game comments of Gonzalo Pineda, lay it all out for us from your perspective, what you saw, and I don't mind if you open up. I don't mind if you open up the screen door and let everybody out or not, because it's one of those things. And like I said, Rich, you're here.
Welcome, Rich. Hope you're well, buddy.
Rich. And like I said, there'll be things that I will say before I discuss things about Philadelphia. We're coming up. Everybody right now, just lay all your comments out there on the timeline. We'll talk about them. We got plenty of time to do it. Jarrett, go for it.
Be kind to each other, y'all, please. As well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't let it get personal.
Yes.
Man, it's there's like multiple elements to take away from it because, yeah, man, it's very funny that officials in England had one of the most hilarious mistakes ever yesterday, or the last weekend that we were talking about yesterday. And man, Pro just could not stand some other country's officials being roundly criticized more loudly than they are.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't handle that. So what you end up with is Alex Chilowitz having a night where if you go check your local Philadelphia fans and go check the comments on like the game threads for this game. Mm-hmm. You will find that Philadelphia fans were as confused and agitated by the officiating as Atlanta fans. Like, they'll take the win, but a number of them were like, yeah, man, I don't know what the hell he was calling all night. Like, we'll take the win, but yeah, there's it was not just it's not just the handball, which was Jesus Christ, like the exploit. Mm-hmm. Also, yeah, like I know everybody was contentious last night. Don't take it out on Jonathan Tannenwald directly. I know he got snippy about it as well. Mm-hmm. Don't take it out on him directly because he was the pool reporter. He's not the one who made the answer. He is. When you have a situation like that, you have a designated pool reporter who writes the question out in a very specific way, and then it goes to the official to answer. Like, he's not the one that answered it. He did what you want, which is to have somebody get an answer. Alex Chilowitz's answer baffles the mind
and several other parts.
Well, because I think the argument from a couple people was like, if it hits off of his leg and then ricochets off of his arm, that might be why you don't give it. It's also high grade bullshit considering we've watched Atlanta get penalized for that in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. We go back to the Miami game where a ball comes off of Luis Abraham. His arm is tucked to his body. Mm-hmm. It comes off of that arm, then ricochets off of his arm that is outside of his silhouette, and that was given as a penalty. So when that was being discussed, okay, literally just got punished for this, but go off with the consistencies and inconsistencies, whatever. But then to say that his arm is in a natural position is just like
Wrong.
Yeah, it's very wrong.
Here's the quote.
And can I warn everybody ahead of time?
Mm-hmm.
Don't lean too heavily into expecting anything special or fulfilling or justifying from the MLS Instant Replay segment that's going to run whenever the hell it runs, because I'm here to tell you it's an entertainment segment.
Yeah.
They occasionally go through like the laws of the game in the process, but man, it's an entertainment segment. They're looking for clicks, and if they end up going over it and giving you an answer that just makes you more upset, then just roll with the fact that that's going to be a thing, man. It's an entertainment segment. It's not the same thing as what's going to happen Saturday morning when Greg Barkley releases the video where they go over Bro.
Yeah.
That one will be very interesting as well, because also one of the amazing parts of all this is the fact that they had the issues with VAR, with communicating with VAR.
Yeah.
If that becomes an issue, you need to in the playoffs make sure that VAR travels on site. You have to, because you can't have VAR screwing up in the playoffs. Mm-mm. Because this already impacted a playoff seeding.
Yeah.
And we've seen worse. A couple of years ago, we watched Pro screw up a call that impacted which teams did and did not get into the playoffs on the final day of the season. Their incompetence knows no bounds. And to me, that's what it is, because people were doing the thing last night of it's either incompetence or it's cheating. I'm not going to call anyone out for cheating. I'm not going to be Alejandro Bedoya and Harris Medunian from 2018, where allegedly one of them told the referee he was being intentionally unfair, and then was quickly sent off, because those are magic words that are not part of the George Carlin lexicon that will get you sent off. But like you can't keep having these issues and having this level of incompetence. And I attributed a lot of it, man, to like arrogance, because we see it. I feel like we see it in baseball a lot, where like somebody will miss a call and it won't get overturned. And you're like, the only reason not to overturn that call was frankly just arrogance. Like the only reason I could come up with.
It's like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to replace me? It's like, I am part of a fraternity that is somewhat untouchable. The question was given by Jonathan Tannenwald to Alex Chilowitz. Here's the response by Chilowitz about the aerial handball, the first one. Quote, in the opinion of the referee, the arm was down and in a natural position when the ball struck it. That's the full quote.
So, and to Michael's question, what do you expect Chilowitz to say? Honestly, I was interested to hear what he said, because I wanted to hear if his argument was, well, it ricocheted off of his leg in our view and then went off of his hand. Because the camera angle you get is kind of weird because of the way it's angled. Yeah. I wanted to know if his argument was, it went off the leg and then immediately off the hand, that kind of thing. Yeah. But dude, I wanted to hear what he said, because the fact that he said, oh, the hand was in a natural position is, again, some high grade, right out the ground oil bullshit, man. Mm-hmm. That's just, it's not, the hand's not in the natural position. All of that being said, let's zoom out. Let's turn the extender off. Okay. Zoom out. Okay. You can't give up 3 goals in 8 minutes.
No,
you can't. And you can't let anything. Yeah, I know, Michael. We keep having this confidence. I don't know what to do about it. You can't keep having it, but you do. But again, this is the same thing I talked about yesterday, and the same thing we've talked about before. You have more and more leagues getting involved with gambling companies. You can't have incompetent officiating if you're going to have leagues literally in bed with gambling companies. If you're going to have segments brought to you by like FanDuel or DraftKings, and officials not being able to get a call correct that impact the result, impact prop bets within the result. What if for instance, let's play devil's advocate here. What if somebody dropped $50 on Thiago Almada having 1.5 goals or 1.5 penalties in this game?
What if somebody had the total at 5.5 and went
well,
the
yeah, you can't have this level of incompetence and this level of being functionally unable to do your job if you were going to also be pushing gambling lines. You cannot. Or you go to the damn robots and just Angel Hernandez is sitting on the street corner as Mortimer Duke in Coming to America, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's I do want to make it clear, you can't give up those 2 goals. And I will say, I love their fight in the second half. They worked their ass off.
Right, but you don't want to put yourself in that situation.
No, you don't want to put yourself in that situation. The free kick is weird because, Chilwitz looks like he's reaching behind for
magic spray.
His magic spray. And that's one of those things, though, that I think Jason talked about it, is have someone go stand over the ball, because Philly's within their right to push the limits there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see this all the time. We saw that with the goal that Miami scored a couple weeks ago.
Miami and Dallas in Open Cup, yeah.
If the referee is going to let you play it fast and kind of play it on the edge, you take it. You don't apologize for it.
Mm-mm.
And that's one where you're like, hey, if they might do that, until if the referee is marking it off, have someone go stand over the ball.
Yeah.
Have Brooks Lennon or Giacomakis go stand over the ball. Someone who, well, maybe not Giacomakis, don't need him getting a yellow card because Chilwitz forgets how to officiate a game. Yeah. But yeah, they're within their right to try that. Mm-hmm. It is on the official to say, hey man, I'm walking this off. You can't take it that quickly.
Yeah.
They are within their right to try it, and Atlanta was switched off. It is creative from Philadelphia, and it's frankly smart from Philly. Mm-hmm. And it's a failure on Chilwitz if he was marking things off. Now, if he had given the okay and somebody was jawing at him and he was answering back, that's different. If he's marking it off and about to, spray the lines, that's just not okay on his side of things. But man, it's just and then you can't give up the next 2 goals because Philadelphia will do that. It's kind of like a Mike Allstott sort of offense. Once it gets
fullback dive.
Yeah, once it gets rolling down the field, once Mike Allstott got in the second level, it was curtains, man. You got a safety in that league? Who's going to stop him?
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Once Philadelphia gets rolling on that 15, 20-minute stretch, in this case it was 8 minutes, once they get rolling and really moving downhill, they're so lethal in those transition moments. And that finishing, I think, is what they've been missing. And Rich could speak to this more so. Those stretches where they just roll downhill have been wanting for most of the year. They've had a couple of them, but not like last year where it just felt like inevitability that they would just lean on you and just avalanche your ass. Mm-hmm. It feels like that hasn't happened as much. And then the finishing hasn't been as good this year from guys like Ure and Gazdag. Again, Rich would know better than I would. That's just me watching Philly not as consistently as he does. That it feels like that's a lot of what's been missing. But they got it last night, and they got that lead, and then they hung on. And you credit Atlanta for going for it. You get the penalty. It's a great penalty from Almada, who has been, again, Almada was 1 for 3 going into that kick. He hadn't been good on penalties this year. Yep. The one he scored was in Nashville, and it was the one where he basically just he pulled a Messi and just kind of got inside of Joe Willis's brain and just casually rolled it when Willis broke the other way.
Yep.
But otherwise, he hasn't been good on penalties, and he buried the damn thing. Edwin Mosquera is making sure that Derek Etienne might never see the field again.
Yeah.
Because if it's because Tyler Wolff has surpassed him. It sucks about Machocho missing the rest of the season because that definitely would have Derek definitely would have been buried, which sucks because I like Derek Etienne's personality. I like what he brings to your locker room. He is very loose. And he's a good presence to have in there. It hasn't worked this year for him, but Edwin Mosquera has decided that has chosen violence when it comes to that depth chart.
Yep.
He was a damn problem last night. The problem is, like you said, and like everyone has said, you can't dig yourself out of a hole. And see, that's the thing, Five Stripe, is Etienne is a weird one because, like, when he came here, I think everybody was on board with it because it felt like the kind of move you needed to make, which is, hey, we need winger depth. Okay, we're going to go get this guy who has had success in the league, who is not on a DP, who is going to be on, I think he's on TAM, like low TAM.
Yeah.
I think he's on 600. I'm not sure if his contract is more than 1 year or not. So I
think it's a 1 with an option.
So I know people are talking about buying him out next year. It's like, if it's like a year an option, you might have to buy him out. You might just go your separate ways and hope that he's able to like rebound somewhere else. But that's the thing, man. Like, it felt like such a correct move at the time because what you brought in a winger who had success in MLS. You weren't going outside the league trying to see if someone could relate to it, and it looked so good on paper.
Yep,
and
676, 250 is his compensation. So he is an AM.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't work. It seemed like it's one of those things. It felt like the right move at the time.
Yeah.
And then it was until it wasn't.
Correct.
And thank God you have Xande Silva, who wasn't perfect last night, which is fine. No one has 100% perfect games. The fact that you have those weapons in the wings, pun intended, where you can, hey, these guys aren't clicking tonight. Hey, Edwin, Tyler, you lose. We're gonna go in there and see what sort of hell you can cause.
Go right your ass off.
And the fact that again, it sucks that Chol's out for the rest of the season because he is such a different wild card that all three of those guys who are not Xande or Saba have different elements they bring to it, and it's just it's like playing with different weapons that you can just kind of throw out there that just, hey, one of these sets the field on fire. Well, one of these releases poison gases. Well, one of these just starts hurling rocks down on the field. That's weird. Didn't know we could do that. Each one is like opening a seal of revelations. It's weird because they're all just different. But yeah, man, you gotta. This is something we talked about last night, John. That you have to harness this the correct way for Saturday.
Yep.
Because you have to deal with Columbus coming in, and you have to fight them. But you can't lose to Philadelphia twice.
Yep. No.
You can't be so mad about it that you're not focused on the Columbus game, but you have to harness it in a good way and a productive way so that Philadelphia does not beat you last night and Saturday.
Yep. All right. Post game. Gonzalo Pineda, like I said, Gonzalo Pineda had a 6.5-minute press conference.
Gonzalo Pineda, if y'all ain't seen, and John, I think, is about to play the audio, Gonzalo Pineda about to get fined, and we could probably fans will crowdsource that stuff.
We could literally set up a GoFundMe for what is going to be said, because I can anticipate very, very quickly that if it's not same day Delta Dash, it will be first thing tomorrow morning at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground that you will get a magic envelope from the league office for these comments. And this is, like I said, this is just half of them. This is half of the comments that Gonzalo Pineda said last night. And here is the opening question. Here is track number 1. Once again, Atlanta United post-match, Doug Robertson with the question and Gonzalo with the answer.
To talk to the pro referees here and ask them how we have to earn the respect of them to get the calls. Today should have been 3 PKs. It was called only 1. Against us, against Montreal, a handball for Abraham that hits the left hand in here in the chest, and after that a rebound comes to the arm. It's called a PK. Today, the first PK from the first half, before their 3 goals, should have been called a PK. So if Jim Corton talked before this game about the handballs, and he talked about no one knows what is handballs anymore, and then they get the calls, and they get the advantage because of that. Against New England this year, Bruce Arena talks the game before our game against them in their house. They talk about their handball that wasn't called, and then Brooks Lennon in the first half crosses from the primacy zones, is a handball, and it's not called a PK. Do I need to talk before the games every time about the referees not giving us the calls? What else do we need to do rather than trying to play good football, dominating the game, trying to create a lot of chances? What else we need to do to earn the respect? Because to me, it feels like tonight we were punished. The score, normal, should have been 4-3 because 3 penalties should have been called. Based on the standard of the league and how they call our handballs, should have been 3 PKs tonight, and we should have won 4-3. But if I need to talk to the referees about that, I need to do it. And because the channels that they put for us doesn't work anymore, I'm going to talk publicly about that. And if I need to say this every weekend before our games, I'm going to do it because we have to earn the respect. Today, Alex Chilowicz, I have a bad memory, so I don't have the right stats. But it feels like most of the times we get controversial calls from him against us. It might be a coincidence, but my record is that we lose more often with him than not. Last game I recall he refereed for us. It was against Red Bulls at home, and it was a horrible tackle on Brad Busan that should have been a red card, and he didn't do it. It was a horrible tackle in the knee of the goalkeeper, and it wasn't a red card. So it feels like it's always controversial, and normally the calls of Alex are against us. What else we need to do to earn the respect? That's my response to your question, Doug.
The number, and one of the intrepid listeners and followers of Atlanta United came up with the numbers. And if I remember correctly, when Alex Chilowicz is in the middle, and you can take this information, you can lump it in with what we're talking about, or you can put it to the side. Alex Chilowicz, when he's in the center, Atlanta United is 3-1-5. 5 of the 9 matches Atlanta United has lost. Like I said, you can take that information, you can put it in a fishbowl, or you can have it off to the side as a part of your information here on a Thursday morning. Alex Chilowicz, 3-1-5 in the middle. Atlanta United 3-1-5 when Alex Chilowicz is in the middle. Then, last question by Doug. If Gonzalo had any advice for Pro in dealing with these kinds of situations. Here's that second soundbite.
You have a suggestion for PRO to improve the quality of the officiating?
I'm out of suggestions because I've been saying this multiple times in person to the fourth official about the calls, and I don't get the right response. Actually, many times the fourth officials say they agree with me, and they know this call should have been for us, this call should have been for the others. Sometimes it happened, but yeah. I mean, they know. I mean, it's very obvious. Especially the first one. I mean, it's very, very obvious the type of penalty was. And again, probably the solution I see is if Jim Corton talks about handballs before the game, Bruce Arena talks about handballs before the game, I'm going to do it every game. So then maybe I get the calls and the opponent doesn't.
There you go. So those are your two sound bites from Gonzalo Pineda. And yep, I would definitely anticipate that there's going to be a FedEx delivery to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Atlanta United FC, care of Gonzalo Pineda, care of Atlanta United Football Club, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. I would imagine that's going to happen. And if we need to set up a GoFundMe, we'll do it. So, Jarrett, that literally what we just played, Jarrett, was half the press conference. That was half of the press opportunity for Gonzalo Pineda last night. We just played half of it, 6.5 minutes. I cannot remember something that was that quick in a post-game opportunity for Gonzalo Pineda. And he opened up every possible can he could find and popped the top on all of them.
Yeah, it's look, Gonzalo Pineda has been generally very coy about officiating things. Like he's usually very tongue in cheek. And it's kind of like the whole thing of like, well, I can't say anything because they'll find me, but you guys, the media, y'all could say something, and y'all could point out all these problems. It appears the Rubicon has been crossed for Gonzo last night because, yeah, he's going to get fined for it, and good, earn it, because I don't know. I didn't know the numbers on Chilowitz. I knew it was frustrating because you'd had the penalties go against you in previous games where it was kind of like, I've seen that given and seen that not given, and then 2 of them were given against you, and then now you have one not given for you in a very close game that's going to decide playoff seeding, and a handball that ultimately impacts the game scoreline at the end of it, and impacts how that game would have played out. We don't know how it would have played out if Atlanta has a 1-0 lead in the 20th minute. We don't know how the rest of it plays out. Mm-hmm. That being said, it's I get his frustration. If he's got to go out there and cut promos before games, that's fine. And here's the thing about it. Like, what's the worst case scenario here? What are they going to do? Not give him calls? They're already not doing that.
Yeah. It's like, can it get any worse, I guess would be the way to interpret, but don't encourage.
Yeah, like you're already not getting calls. So I don't know. It's very dumb. But yeah, I don't blame him one bit for getting very much riled up and grabbing the microphone and cutting a promo last night because it was bad. And don't think for a second Jim Curtin wouldn't have done the same damn thing if the shoe was on the other foot.
Absolutely.
Because it's not okay. It's not okay to be able to see a mistake, go back and look at it, and still be like, yeah, it's fine. It's the same thing with who was the man in the middle of Miami? Was it Marufo?
Yeah, I think it was Jared.
It's kind of like you because I like the way that England addressed this Liverpool thing, where they're like the people, like the guy who worked the Liverpool game will not work another Liverpool game this year.
Yeah,
he's going to work other games, but he's not going to work Liverpool. Marufo does not need to work Atlanta Miami games again, because twice now he has had Atlanta Miami games where he has gotten stuff wrong that has hurt Atlanta.
And Brooks Lennon's a diver.
And Brooks Lennon's a diver. Thanks again, Andrew Wiebe. Brooks Lennon's a diver. But you got to figure out, like, hey, man, maybe we don't schedule Chilowitz for an Atlanta game for a while because let it cool off. And that feels like a really obvious thing to do. Pro doesn't do the obvious very well.
No, they don't. Jim Curtin, after the match, he says that referees, whether it's England, Germany, Spain, MLS, they have a hard job. They have a really hard job. And I think that the rule committee has made it even harder and more confusing, where nobody knows what is a handball. When you use words, lawyer words, I call them, like intent and judgment and possibility, you leave so much room for interpretation, and nonsense, you get what you get. In our last game, there was 3 or 4 that could go either way, depending on when you say what his intent was. I mean, how can you go in someone else's brain and decide that? We're at a point in the game where I don't know what the solution is, but it has to be more black and white because there's too much gray. The second it happened with Nathan, every guy on our bench said it's a handball. That's just me being forthcoming and honest. Somewhere along the line, we're not getting these right. And then, I don't know. I trust VAR. VAR has been great for the game, so don't take this the wrong way. The handball law has changed so many times. You can have a referee come in here right now, and he could explain it to you, and you'd leave the room and go, I have no idea what a handball is. You'd actually know less. It's unbelievable. And they're smart guys doing their jobs, and this is their job full time, so I'm not taking anything away from them, but the way that they use the words now of interpretation or clear and obvious, these are all their BS words. So we don't know what a handball is. I think every team has had some suffering from it. And the tough thing about it is some teams are going to lose big games that knock teams out of playoffs, or coaches lose jobs, or players get in trouble, whatever it might be, because of these calls. And I almost think something has to be a little more clear and get away from the lawyer verbiage. That was Jim Curtin after the match, discussing what he thinks about the verbiage and the rules. But it literally, in this case last night, obviously say what the rule is, and you had video evidence, specifically in the Nathan Harriel handball, where I'd love to know where a chicken wing and a wrist that is bent backward, back toward the body, how that's not clear and obvious, I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
Like I said, you're not going to solve the whole thing, but like, hey, Alex, you're not gonna officiate an Atlanta game for a while. We're just gonna let this cool off.
Yeah.
In the same thing that Joe Dickerson, watch Joe Dickerson be in the middle for Atlanta Columbus this week, because Pro is just one of their more incompetent things they'll do, is they cannot read a room to save their lives. Because if you remember, it was Joe Dickerson who was in the middle when Thiago Almada bumped into him after a game. And Thiago got suspended for, I think, 3 games.
I think so, yeah.
Which you can't make contact with the official. Joe Dickerson was also horrendous in that game. Then he did another Atlanta Columbus game where he was very bad. It's like, you quit giving the same ref the same games over and over when it's not working, when they're having a bad day and everyone wants to fight them. Maybe give him, like, I don't know, give him the LAFC game. Give him Cincinnati. Give him somebody else. Like, you don't create more problems.
Yeah, last
because
night,
that's what you're doing. You are creating the potential for more problems.
Last night, by the way, Joe Dickerson had Chicago and Messi and friends. So
yeah, by the way, those fears we may have had that, like, Messi and friends was gonna, like, tap dance their way into the playoffs and ruin everyone's playoff lives appear to be pretty much dead.
Yep, they are.
Oh, buddy, like
3-2 without Messi.
Yeah, well, that was the funny thing, man. Was, like, I think Atlanta was the first one to, like, really beat them, and then, like, they were kind of, like, along for the ride at times. Like, oh, that win looks really good. Now everyone else seems to have figured out, oh, this is still Miami from early in the season. Except for, you're putting in a couple of great guys, but none of them are Messi. And 60,000 people showed up to Soldier Field, and they got to see Chicago beat Miami into a bloody, unrecognizable pulp.
Yeah, 4-1. Michael Head is saying, just give us Torrey Penso for every match. You would not be alone in that assessment, sir. Gonzalo Pineda fired up, understandably so. Alex Chilowitz, once again, I don't know where you're coming from, but yeah, no. But once again, you look at Philadelphia, Rich, and like I said, I wanted to make sure that you were here before I started saying things about Philadelphia specifically. It is a style of play. It is your style of play. It is.
I'm not worried about their style of play after last night.
No, I mean, look.
I certainly don't want it to turn into, like, personally, I don't want it to turn into, like, a pile-on Philadelphia thing, man.
No. I mean, it is. Look, that is how you operate. And I was trying to explain it to the boss last night, and I said, defensively, Philadelphia does things. It's kind of like when, offensively in college football, you've got to go up against the service academy. You have to prepare for it because they're the only team that does it. And it's different, and you've got to get adjusted to it. And I think what we saw when Philadelphia was here in July for the 2-0 win, or whenever that was, I want to say it was in July, it was one of the best games Atlanta United has played all season, going up against that team in Philadelphia and their style of play. You guys do what you do. There are certain aspects of it that I don't dig, and I've made it public before. But you do you. I get it. You're successful because of it. I think that if you are Atlanta United, you wouldn't mind going up against that in the postseason, all things being equal, because you want to go up against that, and you want to sit there and have that staring contest, and you want to have the two Rams on a mountainside going after each other. And I think it'd be a great series, all things being equal. You are who you are. I get it. It's like you have fantastic players, and when you have fantastic players come in, they adapt to your style. That's just who you are. And we will continue to have these conversations about it as we go going forward. I'm going to go back through the timeline and let and get the spleen venting from folks out here in the open. Michael Head led things off by saying it was a feckless display of incompetence. That is a damn fine phrase. I'd have to look up feckless, but I'm imagining that that's probably not a good thing. So, feckless display of incompetence. And that was, But yeah, Michael said, and then he admits, I said I was not going to complain about reffing again as MLS ownership and leadership seem fine with it. The owners are the ones that could change the situation, but they aren't, and there's nothing we as fans can do about pro. Just deal with the incompetence. Five Stripe wants to punch Jim Curtin in the face, but you can't seem to beat him. And the switching off, yes, we got into that. A lot of comments about Andre Blake and how and how he is as one of the best keepers in this hemisphere, and it showed again last night on multiple occasions. And Rich,
kind of keep waiting for him to slow down, and he never does. It's pretty impressive.
I know. Good luck on that. Rich admits that the second goal by Mosqueda did make him nervous at 3-2.
Well, again, this is a question for Rich. I feel like that kind of has been one of Philly's issues this season. Is that even when things are going well, they're still prone to getting their hand caught in a mousetrap. Mm-hmm. And that I'm sure there's a bit of frustration there as a Philadelphia fan because oh man, we finally got the offense clicking today, and we've given up 2 goals in 20 minutes. Yeah. This is please God, don't, the one time we get offense going, please don't just turn around and blow a 3-goal lead. Because their season, even though they're sitting where they are on the table, it has been less than what they're used to in Philadelphia. When you think about the last 2 years, really.
Yep.
Yeah, they dropped a lot of points this season, and I think if you want to put this on the other foot and look at the Philadelphia side of things, it's something they can build off of going forward. In that, hey man, they don't the Jonesy and Riley philosophy, the great speakers of our time, Jonesy and Riley. Yes. They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yes.
For Philadelphia, it's hey man, we got it to work, and we managed to get our little avalanche going, and then we held on, and we got 3 points. For them, that's something to build off of.
David and Five Stripe discuss Miles, and we know that Miles's contract discussions are going to be at the end of the year. And they were commenting, Five Stripe, Miles is loved, hasn't been elite. And David says that Miles fell asleep on goal number 3. But Miles will be one of those questions that you look at in the offseason. With a contract out, does Miles stay? Does he go? Where does he go? Does he stay here in this league? Does he chase after a European passport stamp? It will be one of the questions that we look at here in the offseason with the continuing growth of Noah Cobb, with the continuing growth of Efrain Morales, who I think is probably another couple of years away with his continued development. But once again, center back continues to have this development, but Miles will be one of those questions once again in the offseason, Jarrett.
It will, and I know there's been the discussion about what does MLS do going forward? Do we get, do you get another DP spot? Do you open up, do you open up and allow for more spending? How are you going to do this? Because then do you keep Miles? Do you go get somebody different? Because Miles, I think, has been inconsistent this year. I don't think that's unfair to say at all. which sucks because you were getting him back after the Achilles injury, and you were counting on him to be that guy. And he's had games where it's been vintage and games where it hasn't been. And you wanted more of the former and obviously less of the latter. So how do you and look, I think they've been better defensively over the last few games since they've made the changes. Like, you've given up some goals, but it's been like you've given up, like, the goal that Campana scored is one of the best goals most of us probably ever seen live.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've given up penalties. You had the one against Montreal that was not great, and last night was kind of like oh God, please don't do this, kind of situation. But if you don't expand out the spending, you're going to put Miles under a big number.
Yep.
You're going to try and find somebody who can do the job for less of a big number. What you going to do?
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of folks also in the timeline were thinking about Brad as well. And I think that Brad has one, if not two more option years, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that it's an option year and then another option year.
And the thing with Brad is I think Brad's going to stay. It's a matter of if Brad's going to start.
Yeah.
I think Brad is one of those guys that to get him off the field, you are going to have to do it, with a crowbar and with an armed guard.
Right.
In terms of like getting him to stop playing. Now, and this is the whole thing with like the stuff that broke about like Josh Cohen,
right,
a couple weeks ago, that everybody wanted to get real upset about, until like, more of the information came out, and MLS was like, actually, they didn't break any rules.
No.
But we at that point everybody was already mad, so whatever. But I wondered if their idea is, hey man, we're going to bring in somebody who is going to legitimately push you. And if that means that Brad stays on as like your number two or is fighting for the number one going forward, I think that's fine.
Right.
Brad has already done the Chipper Jones thing. And he took a pay cut a couple of years ago for this club. And I like that. I hope that's going to be remembered because he has tried to do right by this club as a player. I think the sand in the hourglass is running out on him, and that's fine. He's getting up there in age. He came back ungodly fast from a blown Achilles, which at his age there was no guarantee he was going to come back at all.
Yep.
But yeah, I would not be surprised if you bring in somebody at the very least to push Brad and say, hey man, we need somebody to push him and either start or split time with him down the road.
To answer your question, Abby, nothing has been announced for the makeup date with FC Dallas and Rapids. For those who are Weather Channel junkies, it was a lot of storms, a long delay, and then they just decided, nope, we're not going to do it. So we have yet to hear anything from the league about any kind of a makeup date involving Dallas and Denver, but they're still going to have to figure it out.
Poor Colorado. Just let Colorado's season end, please.
Well, but remember, it impacts FC Dallas. It doesn't impact the Rapids chasing after.
I know, but like, man, I was out there dodging like apocalyptic storms a couple a couple months ago. Like just somebody just have God give the Rapids some good weather for a minute, man. And Abby, the Josh Cohen thing was apparently Atlanta had the rights to Josh Cohen, and apparently they Cohen's people were very upset because they wanted to negotiate, I guess, with other teams, but Atlanta has discovery rights being kind of dumb for what they are at this point in 2024 or 2023. God, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Atlanta keeps those rights as long as they make like a good, solid offer for Cohen.
A good faith offer.
And so Cohen's people said it was not a good faith offer, which is that at that point, that's open to interpretation, bud.
Yes.
Because it just depends on it. It depends on how.
No,
It depends. Yeah, it depends on what he and his agent consider to be a good faith offer versus what the league is. Because when all this broke, everyone was very mad. The league came out and said, "Oh no, Atlanta made a good faith offer, like by the book." Now we don't know what that is because MLS is nailed up tighter than the Ark of the Covenant in a warehouse being looked at by top men.
Yes.
Who, John?
Top
men.
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, there was all that conversation about that with Cohen, and then Cohen's people said they will not negotiate with Atlanta anymore. So
I didn't get a harumph out of you.
Yeah, they won't negotiate with Atlanta. It's very, my God, it's exhausting.
It is.
But because I wondered if because what the understanding was that I think Felipe had as well was that the idea was he would basically be playing for Atlanta United too, which I think my estimation of the situation is that you would have put him on there because of roster restrictions in MLS,
right,
with the idea of competing for a starting spot in 2024.
Yes.
You bring him here, you kind of stash him there because MLS roster rules are, nuttier than a fruitcake.
Yes.
And then you have him try and start in 2024 potentially. And I think that would have been the idea. However, that apparently was not on his list of things to do.
No. David asks, it's unfortunate the Braves play at 6 Saturday versus 1 or 2. Jared, if they played earlier, could you emotionally pull off the 24-hour trouble of Braves, United, and Falcons?
Honestly, I'm happy with the Braves playing at 6 o'clock because I'm tired of Major League Baseball disrespecting the best team in the league. They did this last year where they made the Braves play their NLDS games in the daytime. Get your head out of your ass, MLB. If a team won 104 games and is getting to play a direct rival in the NLDS, you put that game after the sun goes down. You don't make it the 1 p.m. special, Rob Manfred. You absolute piece of dog trash. Congratulations. You made me miss Bud Selig. I hope you step on pine cones every morning of your life when you step out of bed.
Yeah, without shoes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so ask the Philly fans too. Philly fans won Atlanta. They're insane in the most complimentary way possible.
Yes.
But you have a rivalry. Play that game at night. Great. Is everyone going to lose their mind? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Abby says, at least Curtin didn't grab and hold the ball this game. Take it away from Caleb Wiley on a throw. And then there wasn't the taking of the corner on the final play either. Yeah, Rich admits Union have dropped a lot of points this year.
Yeah, Tom's very much ready for Ring the Bell season. Man, Philly worries me. The Philadelphia Phillies worry me as we shift into baseball down here, because they're so damn hot and cold. They beat the dog out of Florida, which was hilarious. Because everyone's kind of wondering how. The only reason Florida got in the playoffs is because the Chicago Cubs decided to absolutely choke in the most hilarious way possible. They did. They blew the games in Atlanta. They blew the games before that. Philly. Chicago got ice cold. Cincinnati could not win games. The Marlins just happened to be there to pick up the slack and to get them over the line. That's great. My thing with Philadelphia is that you have a leadoff hitter in Kyle Schwarber who hit 40-something bombs, who hit 200, who hit under 200.
He's Dave Kingman of the 21st century.
It's absolutely beautiful. He's the most absolutely perfect 2023 hitter, and I will hear nothing to the contrary. But if they go cold, just about anybody left in the playoffs will sweep them out without thinking twice.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get hot, they can beat anybody. They're just so damn 9s and 1s. And it's terrifying to play against a team like that because, if you come out Saturday night and you absolutely blow Ranger Suarez, I'm assuming it'll be maybe Suarez, maybe Taijuan Walker. If you blow one of them out of the building, you're feeling good about life. But otherwise, if you give they're kind of you want to knock the wind out of their sails. Otherwise, if they get any momentum, you're like, well, good night, everybody.
Yes.
So,
Thank you very
anyway.
much. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah. Rich, last night the Union started 30 minutes before the Phillies. Majority of the were watching their phones to the Phillies. Yeah, because it was hilarious watching Florida just kind of the Marlins. They'll always be the Florida Marlins to me. I don't care how many ways Jeffrey Loria tries to ruin the sport. It's hilarious watching the Marlins just kind of be inept.
Yes. Sure. Yes, absolutely. We've got Niko coming up at the bottom of the hour, but since we have transitioned into hour number 2, that means I get to read a promo because we have to have that bridge in there somehow. So it's time to read a promo from our friends at Elimini Service. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, and that is our friends at Eliminize. Deodorizing in closed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminize, I know that surprises you, bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Eliminize offers a turnkey process. Of course they do. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that. That I know about. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard and you take out that masking agent, you spray it in the air, there's a reason it's called a masking agent, because you're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing easy, very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, and it is their website. This is where I grab my pen. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Facebook, on Twitch, or on the Twitters. But the website is eliminize.com. But after the .com, do us a favor. Go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your issue. Full homework assignment. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta. Eliminize.com, Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a spleen venting Thursday. And thanks to our friends at Eliminize, and thanks to all of our sponsors here at SDH for having the faith in us to do what we do every single day. Our friends at Kaiser Permanente, who sponsor us when we do live games and live activities at, and that reminds me, 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Reverb by Hard Rock, across from the stadium. It is our final regular season Reverb by Hard Rock appearance. Jason will be there. I will be inside. And hopefully you will be there, too, to start off your tailgating day for the home match against Columbus. So from 3 to 4, Reverb by Hard Rock, that's us. SDH will be there to discuss what's going on with Atlanta United, with Columbus, with that particular very, very busy Saturday, 3 to 4, Reverb by Hard Rock. Be there, book 'em, Dano. Aloha. Rich, everybody's discussing what's going on. Not your majority of the fans watching their phones for the Phillies. Union started 30 minutes before that. Rich says Scott hit the grand slam as soon as the match was over. Crowded Subaru was louder than that for the Union goals. Not a surprise. So let's do the world stuff before Niko comes in here in about 20 minutes. Yesterday, it was announced, Jarrett, that World Cup 2030 is going to be in 6 countries on 3 continents. Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay are hosting games to mark the centenary. And it's going to be hosted in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. But South America is going to bat leadoff for this 48-team tournament.
What? Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
Like, if you want to play it in, 2 or 3 countries that are right next to each other, fine. I don't want to have to get on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria just to go play a game.
You're going to have to do that in 2030. Morocco, Portugal, Spain, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay get the opening 3 matches. 6 countries, all of whom will get the automatic qualifier for the 2030 World Cup. So basically, it's now 42 teams that are going to be let in because Morocco, Portugal, Spain, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, they're already in 2030. But what that does is like instantly, and I mean like instantly, and Ricky's getting to where I'm going here. Instantly after that was announced, the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia was like, we're just going to go ahead and lay it all out right now. We're bidding for 2034. Just figured we would let all the rest of the Middle East and the African continent know that we're doing it. And we'd recommend, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, elbow in the ribs, finger poke of doom. We'd recommend that you not put a bid together. I know that that's shocking to all of you. Yasser Al-Misahal, president of the Saudi Football Fed. They're going to be spending, obviously, billions through the PIF. Quote, we believe the time is right for Saudi Arabia to host the FIFA World Cup. Our bid is driven by a love for the game and a desire to see it grow in every corner of the world. Yes, that is their quote. Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Crown Prince Prime Minister, described the bid as a reflection of the country's progress in all sectors. The kingdom has quickly emerged as a leading hub and an international destination for hosting major events, thanks to its rich cultural heritage, economic strength, and the ambition of its people. Sure. Talked to the friends at and from our friends at The Guardian. There was the discussion, the 2030 announcement, and this is, once again, Guardian framing. 2030 announcement met with dismay by climate groups. Earlier this year, a Swiss regulator ruled that FIFA misled fans over the claims that the previous World Cup would be a carbon-neutral event.
You think Gianni Infantino gives a single damn?
No, I don't think he gives a single damn, a tinker's damn, or any damn.
Gianni Infantino just count his cash, man.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he does.
You know what, man? He's going to be a trash bag human being. The sooner you're at peace with that, the better. Thanks, Gianni.
Mm-hmm. And UK and Ireland are set to host the Euro 2028 after Turkey withdrew their bid. So, and apparently, I think it's, I can't remember what month, starting with the letter M, it's going to be announced next year. But it's looking like 2034 will be announced next year. Australia is an interested party, perhaps alongside Indonesia, perhaps a proposal from China. But the Saudis apparently are in the pole position for this. Australia's been given a 25-day deadline to challenge the Saudi Arabian bid. And good luck with that. That's all I'm saying. Good luck with that. I legitimately thought that the Saudi influence and interest would be there for the centenary, for the 2030, because it's a part of their Vision 2030 project. But I guess Vision 2030 can be expanded to Vision 2034 if the world decides that they are going to play their championship tournament in that country. And the Saudis have said it's going to be all self-contained. It's going to be in all of our venues. No worries. We'll make it accessible and infrastructure, and we'll have everything all squared away. So, yeah. So that's what you're staring at with that. And so we'll keep an eye on that going forward. But I think it's March. I don't think it's May. I think it is March of 2024 where they're going to announce 2034. And it will be very, very interesting going forward. I know that surprises each and every one of you that the Saudis would actually be the front runners for something like this. But so that was the another piece of large news yesterday. Newcastle, and let's get into Champions League here. Newcastle beat the dog out of PSG yesterday. The DAWG dog out of them. That was not something that I had on the bingo card. Newcastle beat PSG 4-1. Jared, I know that as a part of the 3 o'clocks, Celtic lost to Lazio 2.
I don't want to talk about it. I want to fight Brendan Rodgers, but I don't want to talk about it.
That's what I figured.
We can talk about what Newcastle did because that was hilarious. It's always fun to watch PSG lose in the same way that it's always fun to watch random college football teams lose. Like when Notre Dame gets smacked around occasionally, when Alabama loses, like we're like, that was fun. We should do this more often.
Yes.
The reason we don't is because those teams are generally very good. But we should do this more often.
Yes. Atletico Madrid beat Feyenoord 3-2. Shakhtar Donetsk was down 2-0, came back to win 3-2 in Antwerp. Manchester City played with their food for a while, and they finally got the win over Leipzig 3-1. But, yeah, 3-0 lead for Newcastle, finished up 4-1 at a plus 145. They were favored at St. Mary's, and it was a bouncing crowd, too. Barca won at Porto on a mistake. Not enough weight on a pass. Barcelona pounced on it. Dortmund and AC Milan drew at a plus 246, goalless draw. Red Star and Young Boys drew at 2, and one of the more exciting games of the day at 2-2. Lazio beat Celtic. They were slightly favored at Celtic Park at a plus 160.
Yeah, it was a very stupid game. Like Celtic scored early. Lazio scored on a ball that crossed. It was a goal. It crossed by less than a foot. Celtic had a goal correctly ruled out for offside. And then Lazio just boomed it down and managed to get something because Joe Hart's 110 years old.
That is true. Was he wearing a hat at the time?
No, he might as well have been, though. Man, I want to fight Brendan Rodgers so badly.
You ain't the only.
And I need someone in England. I don't care who it is. I need someone in England to decide to fire their manager so that the quitter can quit again and go back south.
Jimbo Fisher?
Well, this is the Northern Irish Jimbo Fisher.
Thank you. Okay, just check.
I need somebody down south to fire their manager so that I can just get him out of my life again, because I despise everything about that operation, that front office over there right now.
Yeah, not a shock. Today is Europa.
Fun players though.
Yeah, no doubt. Europa League, Europa Conference League today, and you've got your ish load of games, and I mean that literally. You have an ish load of games. You've got 8. You've got 8 at 12:45. You've got 8 Conference League games, 8 Europa League games at 3:00. AEK, your boy Matias Almeida is hosting Ajax at 12:45, and they are an even money plus 100 to run up the score. I would probably take a total, considering how Ajax is a mess right now. Take a total and take the over. Rangers favored on the road at Aris. Betis.
Yeah, they just fired their manager, Michael Beale.
Yes. Here we go. We haven't had the Michael Beale discussion.
Speaking of snakes living in the actual grass, Michael Beale, who was in the stadium right before Giovanni Van Bronckhorst got fired from Rangers, and did the same thing that Aberdeen Green did, where like he's talking about like all this is very fixable, and just absolutely shitting on the guy who came before him. And Michael Beale now fired, and you can look for days. I doubt you will find a soul that feels sympathy. I'm going to laugh my ass off when they continue to do well in Europe, because it will be funny.
That is true. Also on the board, running through those games, you can catch them all on Paramount Plus. And Golasso show on a day like this is mandatory. Betis favored at home against Sparta Prague. West Ham slight favorite on the road at Freiburg. Marseille and Brighton. Gattuso and De Zerbi going at it. Brighton at a plus 123 on the road at Marseille. Rakov at home in Poland, favored against Sturm Graz. Sporting CP favored at home against Atalanta. And Olympiacos a minus 175 at TSC. 3:00. Roma, big favorite at home against Servette. Our friends at Karabag travel to Haken, slight underdog. Liverpool and Royal Union. Royal Union basically is a plus 1050 to win. Liverpool a minus 435. Maccabi Haifa is a plus 142 at home at 3:00 against Panathinaikos. Abby's got the scarf. She just said so. Bayer Leverkusen a minus 213 on the road at Molde. Slavia Prague, big favorite against our friends at Sheriff Tiraspol. Toulouse, favored against Lus, get a -127. Villarreal, favored at home at a +135 against Rennes. Europa Conference League. And once again, Paramount Plus on a day like today is like mandatory and a half. One game that's going to happen in 9 minutes because it's in Azerbaijan. Victoria Pilsen at Astana. Pilsen favored at a +104. You've got 7 matches at 12:45. Besiktas Lugano, Bodo Glimt, and Club Brugge. Breidablik, our buddies from the island regions, going up against Zorya Luhansk on the road. Balkani and Dinamo Zagreb. Ghent and Maccabi Tel Aviv. Maccabi. Klaksvik from the Faroe Islands against Lille. Ljubljana and Slovan Bratislava. I got an idea. World Peace. How about that? 3 o'clock. Aberdeen hosting HJK at a -105. Villa, big favorite at home. AZ Alkmaar, big favorite at home. Genk favorite on the road. Fiorentina, big favorite at home. Nordsjælland favorite at home against Ludogorets. PAOK and Eintracht Frankfurt might be your match in Conference League at 3 o'clock. And then Trnava and Fenerbahce favorite at a -208. Thank you, Abby, on the pronouncer. So big day. You have 32 matches in 32 in a Conference League and Europa League today. Watch the Golasso Network, Golasso Show. You're going to need it for all of the firepower and everything that's going on there. Ricky with a question. Why did this come before, meaning the announcements for 2030 and the front runners for 2034 on the men's side? Why did this come before we got the Women's World Cup 27 hosts? Not as much money's involved. I mean, I hate to be so curt about it.
No, but it's always money. Money is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. Like it's always the answer is always going to be money.
Mm-hmm.
Forever and ever, amen.
Mm-hmm. David says PSG just isn't the same when Messi doesn't play. Line of the day.
Always be slandering.
Yes.
Always be slandering.
Always be slandering. Always be slandering. Always be slandering.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's very fun watching PSG be bad too. So that's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's always like that's like a high mark of my week.
Yes.
Especially when it involves Miguel Almiron doing things.
Yes. To see Miggy score in Champions League. I mean, that's never had it on the bingo card, but I'll take it and run with it. Not going to complain one damn bit. Let's see. Oh, what to watch today? We got to get into Gossip Rumor Nino and what to watch before Nico joins us in about 10 minutes. And we get into all of the lovely gossip. Manchester United and City are going to compete for the signing of Brighton's winger Kaoru Mitoma in January. That's from our friends at Fishahes. Brighton has been getting a lot from Mitoma, and Brighton's going to get a big payday again with Mitoma in January. Both the Manchester clubs could miss out since he's set to sign a long-term deal. But remember, any deal that is signed, you're controlling the asset. So if Mitoma signs a long-term deal at Brighton, that just means he signed a long-term deal. There's a release clause. You're protecting yourself against the release of the player without any kind of financial remuneration whatsoever. You're controlling the asset, and that is just as important as getting a big fee should Mitoma go, and it looks like he's going to. Erik ten Hag's position as Manchester United secure for the foreseeable future, despite the club's poor start to the season. I think it's their worst in 37 years. That's according to our friends at The Guardian. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg wants to leave Spurs if the club can't guarantee him first-team football. Juve is interested. Chelsea want to sign Red Bull's winger Julian Hall, who we got to see with Red Bulls 2, 15 years old. So he can't be over there for another 3 years anyway, but they want to sign him. Face competition from United, City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, by the way, set to offer Alphonso Davies a new contract to fend off interest from City, Chelsea, and Real Madrid. Once again, it's about controlling the asset. The wording from the BBC, as always, to fend off interest. No, that just sets the price. Bayern winger Leroy Sané could leave the club next summer with Barcelona and Real Madrid likely destinations. That's from our friends at Build. West Ham, among several clubs interested in signing Emile Smith-Rowe if he leaves Arsenal. Fiorentina Set to offer Italy U19 defender Michael Coyote a new contract. Arsenal showing interest. Chelsea keeping an eye on Brazil midfielder Andre Santos' situation at Nottingham Forest and could recall the 19-year-old from his loan spell if he doesn't secure regular first-team football. Steve Cooper, play the man. Barcelona want to sign Santos and are monitoring his situation at Sport in Spain. Athletic Club Spain midfielder Nico Williams close to agreeing to a new contract, ending Brighton and Villa's hopes of signing the 21-year-old. Once again, it's about controlling the asset. It's about controlling the asset. It's not just about sitting there saying, you can't sign him now or signing him to a long-term deal. No, it just locks in terms. Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, among a host of Premier League clubs interested in Feyenoord midfielder Quinton Timber. Ivan Toney's considering leaving Brentford in January. Tell me something I don't already know. Spurs and Chelsea likely destinations for the 27-year-old. Price tag anywhere between 60 and 80 million pounds. Burnley interested in Millwall's 18-year-old U19 midfielder Romain Esse. And then it's from our friends at Team Talk. Cisco was sacked by Sheffield Wednesday after their awful start in the championship. And the club chair, and this will always win you over with your fans, the club chair is criticizing fans in a statement confirming the exit. Defon Chansiri, the Sheffield Wednesday chair, who's never really won over fans. I'm the one who saved the club and spent the money for the club. I'm the one who needs to pay around £2 million on average every month. Some fans need to have more respect for owners of clubs and not be so selfish, thinking of their own benefit without doing anything good to the club. Those fans who create trouble to the club and myself and believe that they're the real owner of the club need to be responsible for the financial matters of the club from now on, end quote. Wednesday are now searching for their seventh manager in the past 5 years. So good on you, Defon Chansiri. Way to endear yourself to folks. The hubris of owners sometimes, Jarrett. I'm just going to puff out my chest here and say it.
Yeah, it's
about me.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. They've pretty much been told that their entire existence, and especially, I think it's especially a thing with ownership that gets to take over, and you get that savior complex. That I saved this club. You would be nowhere without me. You would be nothing without me. I'm your God. Like,
yes,
there is no. There is no ownership, only Zool.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
And you get that complex. I think it's just part of it, man.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. So, Defon Chansiri not making any fans with how they have started in the championship. So, for the record,
be better then.
Yeah, be better. But that means I would have to spend more money, and I've spent a lot of money so far in all of this.
Spend it more efficiently. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, Defon Chansiri has not been one to sit there and be frugal about his stuff. By the way, they're at the bottom of the table. They haven't won a match yet in the first 10. They have drawn only twice, 0-2-8. They've only scored 5 goals this season. Maybe if you scored and got some talent up top, perhaps. 8 losses in 10 matches, 2 points, bottom of the table, 3 points. There's 7 points from being out of the relegation zone right now. And with 36 matches to go, son, you got some work to do. You're to minus 13. Bottom of the table. Sheffield Wednesday. That's not a good start. Maybe if you, I don't know. Maybe you could bring in somebody like John Harkes to, I know that the folks in Greenville probably just put their fingers in their ears, but you bring in somebody like a John Harkes, perhaps? Just saying. Gets to be back at one of his former clubs. Yeah, and Michael Head. Go ahead, Chelsea. Sign everyone. Yeah, that's what they want to do. They're going to sign everybody.
Don't give them ideas. They think it will solve their problems.
And they're looking for another 9 figures in a loan from American banks as they want to spend yet another £200 million and clear $1 billion in transfer fees with the folks that they're bringing in. Thank you, Boley Clear Lake. That literally is just like, here's your interest rate. Good Lord, people. Not once again, not necessarily a surprise that you would want to run that game, but not a shock that you would have something like that go down.
And also, this is where I take my leave. So,
okay, so you take your
unfortunately.
leave, and
Yeah.
we'll get it again tomorrow. Oh, by the way, yeah, David, Chelsea's just not the same with all that Russian oligarch money. By the way, tomorrow morning, just so you know, we're leading off with Darren Van Tassel at 9:05, and Darren's going to talk about the home regular season finale for South Georgia Tormenta as they are trying to race into the playoffs in USL League One. 9:30, our friends from Beyond Goals. And at 10 o'clock, it'll be the weekend whip around patent pending trademark coming. And we'll see who actually will be a center ref for Atlanta and Columbus this weekend. And we will follow along and figure out where Joe Dickerson is. And we will find out where Alex Chilowitz is. And get out the water pistols and sit there and figure out what's going on. And we'll figure out. This is probably what we should do is for this week, for the remaining match weeks, sit there and say, okay, here's your center ref as we go. Remind me of that tomorrow. Remind me of that. Bart, hey, I know I'm late, but that was a handball. Yes. Yes, it was, Bart. Despite what Alex Chilowitz said, the arm was in a natural position. Sure it was. Michael says it's hard to be a CFC fan these days. And, yeah, money doesn't seem to be the problem because that always seems to be the solution. What's wrong? We're not spending enough money. We need more players. Yeah, David, Chelsea's just not the same with all that Russian oligarch money. You know? Niko Moreno coming up in a couple of minutes. Let's go over what to watch today while I'm thinking about it before Niko comes in, and you can watch everything everywhere. Like I said, Paramount Plus. Today for Europa League, Europa Conference League, watch Golasso because you're going to need it. College women, ACC Network doubleheader. BN has the Copa Libertadores, Palmeiras and Boca Juniors at 8:30. That's heavyweights. And it'll be simulcast on BN and Espanol. If you don't have BN, you can get it at Fanati's, ftz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show, helps them out, helps us out. And if you don't have any access to BN, Nuestra Tele, CDO, for the fans, Tay Say, and I'm sure that I've forgotten some. You can watch a lot of stuff with Fanatis. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. ESPNU's got women's soccer, Texas and Central Florida's at 5:30. FS1, Xavier and Georgetown at 7. It is the Women's Iron Bowl, Auburn and Alabama, 7 o'clock on SEC Network. Tuda NA has AEK and Ajax because of Almeida at 12:45. Unimas is your simulcast. ACC Extra, 5 matches in the ACC at 7 o'clock. B1G Plus, 2 matches on the men's side, 7 and 8. ESPN Plus, the Spanish Segunda, Cartagena, Espanol at 3:20. 7 matches on the men's side. A lot of matches. Good Lord, a lot of matches on the women's side. I don't have the fingers and toes to count that quickly. Starts early on at noon with Little Rock in Southeast Missouri, finishes up at 10 o'clock with 4 matches out west. Flow FC has 9. I can count to 9. 9 matches on the women's side. Fox Soccer Plus has activity starting at 11 for the league that I don't care about and I'm not going to promote. Golasso has Sporting in Atalanta at 12:45, Villarreal and Rennes at 3. Paramount Plus has all the Conference League and all the Europa League action. SEC Plus has 7 matches on the women's side. VIX has all the Europa and Europa Conference League stuff. Catch your breath. Just watch Paramount Plus. Just watch Golasso Network. That way you're not having to watch 32 matches simultaneously. Because, now that we've caught our breath, it is time to bring in, because it is 10:35 and we have a half hour left in the show. We go to Seattle, and he's got the Rave Green out. Is this cup number 1, Niko, or cup number 2?
This is cup number 2. It's been I don't even know how to say it. I might have gotten. I'm still up with a 2-hour break since last night. I took a 2-hour nap, was back up, watching a couple of games from last night. It's been interesting. I had to watch Atlanta. I had to make sure to watch the Vancouver-St. Louis game. So between getting home real late after the Sounders game, watching a couple of MLS games, got a quick cat nap for about 2 hours, and then I was right back up. So this is cup number 2.
Okay. It is Thursdays with Niko, when Niko comes in with the Pacific perspective on everything. And I know that he's probably going to have a cat nap in his future after talking to us and doing stuff with Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports. But all right, we spent the first hour of the show going berserk over handball, what's a handball, what's not a handball, Alex Chilowitz, 3 handballs. We played the Gonzalo Pineda. We played legitimately. We played half the Gonzalo Pineda press conference from last night. 6.5 minutes.
Woo.
And that's it. 6.5 minutes. That's it. We played half of it. And we played that in hour number 1. And we firmly anticipate that because of his fired up nature there in the press conference, that he probably will be getting an envelope from the league office, Federal Express. Then it will be there either Delta dashed late this afternoon, or it'll be there first thing in the morning, expressing the league's displeasure over his comments. So now that you've had a nap, what do you think?
I think his anger is understandable. I think it's reasonable. When I've been on your show before, and anytime that we speak and we talk about refereeing and their mistakes, because that's just what happens in the game. All those of you who thought that with VAR, those were things of the past, just were not really realistic about what it takes for a referee to get it right. And quite honestly, sometimes it goes beyond the video refereeing is the referee's ultimate decision. And sometimes I think that goes along with ego and a whole bunch of other things that I think continue to make the game have moments like last night, right? I do believe that Atlanta was affected by not getting that first handball, and you could see it in the play of Atlanta after that first missed call on what was clearly a handball. And we don't have to go through the video or check it out, right? But it's obvious that it's out of the silhouette. You are making yourself bigger. For me, it's a clear call. And after that, Atlanta just seems to get out of their own game, and eventually leads to Philadelphia first goal. Now, with that said, I think that it goes back to players also just staying on for 90 minutes. Lennon cannot be arguing with the ref when there's going to be a quick free kick taken and they get caught off guard. That type of lack of awareness or lack of concentration costs you goals like that. Yeah. So although I do believe the refereeing was a factor in that terrible first half for Atlanta, I think that we always talk about you have to make a difference in the game so that mistakes like that don't define your result. So I get his frustration. I'm sure that he's going to get an envelope from the league. But at the end of the day, although I understand his frustration, I think that it does go back to making sure that your guys stay on, that you guys finish chances, that you guys continue to do the assignment regardless of what's going on. And I think Gonzalo's going to have a good talk about it. I think it's a learning experience for this team right before the playoffs. I thought they could have tied this game. I thought they could have won it. So quite honestly, I think it's a good learning lesson for what could be a matchup in the playoffs for this Atlanta team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you look at instances, and I know that there's also been focus from some of the folks in our conversation on the Twitch pitch about that 3 goals in 8 minutes, and the discussion with the first goal on the quick restart was, it looked like where Alex Chilowitz was reaching for the magic spray as they went for the quick restart. And so that wasn't a start and all these kinds of things. So there are points of concern that have been brought up by Atlanta fans. And when you have that avalanche that we seem to see with Philly, when Philly can jump on you, and then they jump on you, get a margin, and then they have to hang on. there's stuff that you can take from both sides of this, in
Yeah.
addition to everything that we were discussing with Chilowitz and stuff. So there's stuff that Atlanta United fans are looking at here, both about being aggrieved and about stuff that's concerned. Philadelphia fans that are here this morning, they've got concerns as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy this morning with all of the moving parts from this match.
Yeah, I still like Atlanta better than Philadelphia, to be quite honest. And I know that people might think I'm insane because on paper and their trajectory, what they've done in the past, it's most people might think that Philadelphia is one of the top contenders in the East, but I don't believe it. I've had so many issues with this Philadelphia team just being at that moment and then falling apart, whether it is in an international tournament or in domestic play. In Atlanta, I feel like they have goals for days. I think, again, the discipline and the mentality has to be different for a game like this one. And that quick restart, you need to have a leader on the field, a guy that just has that experience and is going to go on top of the ball and is going to put his foot on it, and he ain't going to move that foot until his guys are ready. I don't care if the referee's whistling the ball onto play. I'll take the yellow, but you got to have somebody that's not going to allow that quick restart and just stay on, right? But I bought all the Atlanta stocks that I could find, and I'm sticking to it. I'm not selling.
All right. We do have a question from our buddy Bart Keeler, who is one of the other hosts on the network. He deals with national team stuff, and he's our center ref. We call the Reffing Down Here segment that we bring in on Wednesdays, where we go over rules of the game and such. He says, how do you feel 1 week post the brand refresh there in Seattle? What do you think?
I feel good. I think that people are starting to get used to the new rebrand. They're starting to get used to the new shield.
Yeah.
I was very clear about what were the good things about the new crest and what could have been done a little bit better. Oh, there you go. Very nice. Yes. I love the Orca. I love all the different components that the new rebrand has. And it's very adjustable and very new century. Their whole point in the demographic that they were trying to hit was the younger generation, was the next generation. They talked about, we want a crest that's going to be able to be used in the back of a phone and in the background of your laptop or whatever. Right. And I think all the little things that they did are in that route, and I think it was well done. I got a scarf as well. I got to put a video. I got a scarf from Sounders FC that was pretty cool, and I like the colors. I like the way they've done it, so I feel pretty good. Now, the play has not been as positive as the rebrand, but we'll talk about that a little later.
Right on. Last night, since the beauty of the midweek, we can kind of stare at some stuff. And last night's results, and obviously we'll get into yellow light, red light, green light in just a little bit. But last night, Charlotte put up a number on Toronto. Everybody does. Cincinnati rotated. Red Bulls won. Montreal and Houston draw. Columbus beats New England. I think that you and I share the assessment that New England's got bigger issues going on, and they've kind of worked their way now into the worst time of the season for the Revs. And then we talk about Philly. Austin got a big win last night. They really needed it. Chicago in front of 61,000 who were looking for Messi and friends. Oh, let me ask you this, since we're on Chicago and Miami. What did you think about what Chicago decided to do? It's like, well, if you come, we'd love to have you. If you show up, you can get $250 off of your season ticket to pledge for next year, or $50, if you want to come back for a game, and you've got to have more than like one person. What did you think about them basically saying, if you come, then, we will reward you for coming? What did you think about that? What Chicago tried to do in a PR sense?
I think it was great because they need that. It's crazy to me after going to the city of Chicago and kind of seeing where the stadium is, but it's just kind of tough to get there. And it's a beautiful city, and they have so much history, but the fan base doesn't really support the team the way they used to, and they've had so many issues getting people there. So I think in love and war, all is fair, and you need to try to spark that in any way possible. And I thought it was creative and probably successful. I haven't really looked at the numbers on attendance, and I don't remember looking exactly at the stands while watching that game last night, but I think it's great. Anytime that you're trying to create more people to come, whether it's doing things like this, it's always a positive.
News for Atlanta United fans and for Inter Miami fans. Argentina has called up Thiago Almada and Lionel Messi for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Dallas and Colorado, that's got more impact for Dallas than it does Colorado. The match was postponed because of the weather currently going on in the Southwest. Orlando got 1 goal. That's all they needed, winning against Nashville. Why is Adrian, he's still employed?
We mean, you've talked about this plenty of times. He's got to have dirt on the owner. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I am kidding and I'm not kidding. I'm not sure. I think Adrian, there's good things about him, and there's a lot of bad things about him. If you put it on a scale, I think that it would go more towards the cons than the pros, but the franchise gave him the keys to the kingdom, and they just won't take it away. So we'll talk a little bit more about Minnesota when we get to red light, green light, yellow light, but definitely a sham yesterday. Just terrible.
5-1, LAFC gets the win. Seattle got a 2-1 win over LAG. What'd you take out of that one?
Well, man, that was not a brilliant game for Seattle. It was a little bit frustrating for the fan base. I didn't want to ask certain questions yesterday because the story should be that Seattle clinched to the playoffs, that Christian Roldan, after battling all kinds of protocols and injuries throughout the whole season, gets a goal in a critical moment necessary for not just the points and clinching the playoffs, but momentum. That's what you got to try to create, is momentum. But speaking of momentum, I didn't think the play was great. It was sloppy. It was up and down. If there's been a common denominator that has followed this team on a negative aspect, is that they can manage leads and they can manage games, and the intensity goes up and down like a roller coaster. You start off great, right? Papa Jordan Morris, right? New daddy comes in, scores a beautiful goal. JP having that ability to get the ball back and then look up, put a perfect service into the box, and then Jordan's whipping header was great, right? You start off so good. Intensity is high. You're creating opportunities. And then after 15, 20 minutes, that all just died down and you started playing to the LA Galaxy's tempo. You get pinned back. You allow them to get more possession. So I thought that all in all, the team just needs to figure out a way to stay on for 90 minutes. Then you come in the second half, and the Seattle Sounders came out like they were still in the locker room, and you allow the guys to continue to push. I was doing the call in Spanish with the guys from El Rey 1360, and I said it. I was like, look, LA Galaxy is getting behind the center backs constantly. Nobody's watching Fagundes. Nobody's watching Douglas Costa. I think something's coming, and 2-3 minutes later, here comes Douglas Costa. He gets a through ball. There's no communication in between the back line, and they get that 1-1. So, yes, the Sounders get the win. It was dramatic. It was great to see Christian Roldan get that goal. Props to Brian Smetzer on the substitutions, bringing in Nico, bringing in Reed Baker-Whiting, and obviously Atencio, who gets that pass to keep the ball alive that eventually fell to the feet of Christian Roldan. And obviously credit to Christian Roldan for putting it away. But in the big picture, Seattle needs to do a lot better. They get the win, but there's a lot to be done before the playoffs, and they're going to have to do it this Saturday because Vancouver's a team that's on a mission, and they might give them some problems.
Yeah, Vancouver, they were the last game on the board. They knocked off all Caps by the final of 3-0. And so big win for Vancouver, which now means that we actually have folks who've clinched playoff berths in the Western Conference. Seattle, LAFC, RSL, Vancouver, Houston, all in. 5 teams clinched last night, but that doesn't mean that we don't know where they're going to finish. We just know that they're in. We just don't know where. So right now in the West, after last night. Seattle's second, 7 points back, 2 matches to go. St. Louis has clinched the number 1, so they'll probably rotate out, at least on a decision day. Seattle's at 49 points. LAFC's at 48. RSL's at 46. Vancouver is also at 46, but they are 1 less win. Houston, 45. Portland, 43. Zombie Timbers, right now, the 7 spot, 43 points. San Jose at 42. Dallas, you got to figure out when you're going to make up that game, and it might be a situation like we've seen with the home and home with Messi and friends in Charlotte, where they take the international window and do it there. That's your playoff bar. Austin at 38, 2 matches to go. Kansas City, 38, 2 matches to go. 2 goals behind in goal difference. We have to go to the second tiebreaker. Minnesota, 1 less win, 38 points. LAFC's LAG is at 35. Colorado, wooden spoon right now in the West at 26. So, red light, yellow light, green light. It's that time where we sit here and we go through the brain of Niko Moreno and find out who's hot, who's not, who might be, and who might be turning cold, who might be that week-old sandwich that you're sitting there and you're staring at in the fridge going, do I want that sandwich for lunch? If I reheat it, maybe, do something to it. It's going to be cool and have that for lunch. All right. What direction do you want to start with this week, my friend?
Let's go ahead and go with the red light because it kind of goes to what we were just talking about. And it's Adrian Heath and Minnesota United squad that just had a dud against LAFC, but they've been trending in the wrong direction. I was actually surprised to see that they've only won 2 games since August. They haven't won in like their last 8 or 7. This is a team that offensively has quality. They should be playing better. And at the end of the day, they just don't coexist enough to make everybody better. I think that Pookie, as much as he was great when he first started, has had a lot of games where he could put, I don't know, maybe at least 4 or 5 chances, 3 or 5 chances, but he's putting 1 out of 5 chances in the back of the net. That's what you're getting paid for. That's what you were brought in. You were supposed to be that guy. Same goes for Bangi. Dang it.
Longwane.
Yes, exactly. Same goes for a player that kind of came on strong. And they've had quite a few of these guys. You go back to Garcia and, players that just seem to have small moments of success, but then it goes away. So that goes back to me in terms of coaching to consistency. So because of this 5-1 loss, because they did themselves a terrible disservice, because when you are where you are in the standings, if you're Minnesota United, there's ways to win and there's even ways to lose. Giving up 5 goals and killing your goal differential and your confidence and everything just puts you in the red category to the point where you might not be able to come back, to the point where you're allowing Austin to get on top of you, which is crazy to me that Austin is where they are right now. So again, red spot, Minnesota, because of the coaching, the inconsistency, and the inability to win important games.
All right, so then that means yellow light goes once again in which direction? It can be a team trending red or it could be a team trending green. Where are you going?
Yeah, there's a lot of yellow teams right now, but I want to do focus on one that is above the line, that has been a problem, that has been an excellent road team, and I'm talking about the Vancouver Whitecaps. I think Sartini has done a fantastic job at providing his players with a system that works for everyone, that allows them to be creative at times, that allow them to be instinctive, and that's worked really well for Gold and for Brian White. Both of these players are on a mission. They are clicked on. They are connected. I think that beating St. Louis the way they did and not even allowing them to go back to their fundamentals. Could we talk about maybe St. Louis didn't have a good game? Absolutely. But Vancouver, even though it's not if you look at the game for 90 minutes, it's not necessarily a 3-0 type of game. But the fact that they were able to exploit and be opportunistic and get those goals talks well about this Vancouver team that seems to have a whole lot of confidence. So when it comes to this system, when it comes to having key players, like Larrea yesterday was fantastic all game long. We just talked about the attacking side, and then you gotta have a guy like Kubas that's give you so much balance in the midfield. I think this team is going to be very difficult, and therefore this game against the Seattle Sounders is going to have a playoff feel. And we talked about momentum. Both of these teams have the ability to use that game to catapult you either trending upward or downward. So it's a big game here at Lumen Field on Saturday.
All right, so then that means green light, and what we always say is that you can always repeat a team, but you've got to come up with a different reason. I don't know if you're repeating a team, but I just want to make sure that folks know the ground rules when it comes to any kind of a team that we have in this competition. Who is it this week?
We can talk about LAFC and the 5-0 win and Boanga 17 goals, getting that hat trick, yada, yada, yada. But I want to focus on a team that I believe is showing that maybe they can be a problem in the playoffs in what is the best of two conferences in the East. So I'm going to go with Orlando City. I had them in the between yellow and green all season long. They've had issues. They've had inconsistencies. But over the last 10 games, they've only lost one, I believe. They have shown you that they could win games in various ways. They could be extremely pragmatic. They can disturb you in the midfield. They got a guy like Wilder Cartagena that's willing to maybe leave you a little present for the next day, a little shoulder that comes in. A guy like Araujo that's on 90 minutes. They got the speed of Angulo on the side. Facundo Torres is a player that I think has been playing below his talent at times, and he's so sporadic with having really good games, right? And I think that his leadership has really come on strong in the last couple of games. He's been a finisher. He's been a guy that has the quality to score goals, but at times doesn't get to the 18 enough. But they've done that recently. They've gotten numbers forward. So I thought that the Nashville game, again, wasn't brilliant, but Nashville's a good team no matter what, no matter how they're playing. I know Sam has kind of gotten cold after us maybe thinking he was going to be the game changer for this team. And obviously Mukhtar has a whole lot of responsibility and all this. But that's a good Nashville team. And that 1-0 win felt, again, like a playoff game. It had that atmosphere. It is away at a Nashville stadium that has been in the past their stronghold. So I think Oscar Pareja, what he's done this season and where the players are right now, put them at a green, and I don't expect that to go away. I think they're going to come into these playoffs at a certain pace, and they're going to be hard to stop.
All right, so now that means that we got to look at the matchups coming up this weekend, and we do so with juice boxes. And if there's any kind, we always kind of play cliffhanger here. And if there's a matchup that Niko says, I want to talk about that one, or if there's a juice box or a total or anything that impacts his brain coming into this weekend, this is when Niko yells, stop, and we talk about it. All right, Crew and Atlanta United. Atlanta United favored at a plus 114. Crew come in 3-8-4 on the road at a plus 200. What do you think about this one?
Plus 200 for Columbus?
Yeah, for Crew to win. Your draw's a plus 284.
Oh, man. You know what? I honestly wanted to focus just on the over-under in this one. But those are really good odds for Columbus. And look, I'm stay on Atlanta, but those numbers I'd be willing to put a little bit of juice boxes on that. But the over-under is what I'm focused on this one. I think both teams have shown that they have goals for days. Columbus has one way to play, and that's being offensive, that's being an attacking-minded team. I think Rossi's been fantastic. Cucho Hernandez, who we had the pleasure to talk to at Soccer Bar in Pulso, and he's such a quality guy. And he talked great about all his players in this new system in Columbus that just fits Christian, fits Rossi, fits him. So this is a big game. I'm not ready to take Columbus, though. I'll take the over-under on this one, which is what?
Well, 3.5 is where it flips at a plus 138. 4.5 is plus 282.
Give me the plus 4.
Okay.
Plus 4 at 282. I think this is anybody's game. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Columbus win, and I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta wins at home. So because of that, I'm going to just stick to the where the money's at, and I think that +4 is going to be easily taken in this one.
+4 is a +217. So Nico's going with the plus number there. Also on the board, Montreal hosting Timbers, DC's hosting NYC, Messi and Friends hosting FC Cincinnati, Red Bulls hosting Toronto, Revs and Orlando City. The purple team is a -133 at home. The Revs on the road a +319.
Yeah, I don't like any of those numbers, to be quite honest. What's the numbers in Cincinnati, Miami? That can be.
Miami is a +102. Cincinnati a +233 after rotating their squad last night. Draws a +278.
Oh, I'm taking Cincinnati. I don't see Messi playing in this one. They put him on ice. There's no real reason, if you look at the standings right now, to think that you're going to be able to do much. The fact that they were hit by the punching bag that Chicago was kind of hard to see. They really just did not come to play. They were flat. They let Shaqiri do things that he hasn't done since he got here. So it was just honestly a bad game for Inter Miami. I don't see Tata risking him on this one. So Cincinnati's an easy pick on that one, if you ask me. I have no doubt in my mind that Noonan, after kind of, I don't want to say disappointing people, but that Red Bull games was not great. I'm sure he didn't want that. As much as you want to rest players and you want to make sure that they're healthy for the playoffs, as he mentioned during the post-conference after winning the Shield, I think that Cincinnati is going to come in rotating in all cylinders for this one, and they'll get that win in Miami.
Other 7:30 matchup, Philadelphia on the quick turns hosting Nashville at a -137. Nashville on the road is a +350.
Oh, give me a draw on that one. I have draw written.
+290 on your draw.
Oh yeah, that's got draw written all over it, man. And look, we just talked about the Philadelphia Union, and yes, they can get going real quick, and I love what Bueno's done all season, and Uri's finally looking like a guy that could be a game changer up top, and I love the big three talk with Carranza and Gustave and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I think that this Philadelphia team is still very, very shaky, and it can be moved. And in that midfield, that Nashville can make it really uncomfortable. That has draw written all over it.
All right. October camp rosters out for the U.S. men's national team. Aronson, Balogun, Johnny, CCV, Luca De La Torre, Dest, Horvath, DeJuan Jones, Christopher Lund getting another call-up, Leonard Maloney getting a call-up. That's interesting. McKinney Musa, Kevin Paredes, Ricardo Pepi, Pulisic, Ream, Reyna, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Joe Scally, Malik Tillman, Matt Turner, and Tim Weah. That is your roster that has just been released 3 minutes ago for the October friendlies. Also, now on the board, wrapping up 8:30s, Austin hosting LAFC. That one is even across the board. Fire hosting Charlotte. Dallas might get a chance to play at home with San Jose. Houston hosting Colorado. Minnesota hosting LAG. RSL hosting Sporting Kansas City. Seattle and Vancouver. Cascadia, what's on that one for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a real good one. I'm guessing that Seattle is negative by how much?
Actually, they're a +102. So right now you'd be getting $2 on Seattle. Vancouver's a +239. Your draw's a +273.
Wow, man, that's an interesting one. I know that probably fans don't want to hear draw, but that probably be the best bet if you really look at this game in general senses. Raul Ruiz is still hospitalized because of back pain. Look, I'm not saying that I don't love Jordan Morris as a 9, but there's things that he does good and there's things that he doesn't. He's great going and getting the ball and playing behind the center backs. And I don't think Vancouver gives you a lot of that. And I don't think LAG gave you much of that. They gave you that for a little bit, but they didn't allow you to do that. So what does that make Jordan do? Have to go back and do a lot of link play. A lot of link play is not something that he does great. And when Leo Chu is not completely on, then you kind of miss Jordan Morris getting forward. You don't have that guy stretching the defense on the left side. So I think they're going to have to start again with Jordan Morris at the 9. And I think Vancouver is going to sit nice and pretty and work off of some counters and allow their play to put the pressure on Seattle, the home team. And so I think this could be a very easy draw for a Seattle team that probably needs a win. And if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, you probably want to win, and you want to win a consistent win. You probably want to play better than you want the result, because, again, you don't want another sloppy performance from Seattle. But I think this has draw written all over it as well.
You mentioned Cucho on Pulso Sports and Soccer Bar. What else is going on at Pulso Sports and Soccer Bar?
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, check that out. That Cucho exclusive was phenomenal. He talked about his desire to play for the Colombian national team, and although he wants to play, that's not the only thing on his mind. He loves MLS, love what the growth has been overall. We also talked to Diego Fagundes yesterday. So actually, in about 45 minutes at Soccer Bar, we're going to give you a preview of that interview with Diego Fagundes, talking about getting out of Austin as well. That was interesting that we talked to him about that, and what it's been and how easy it's been to fit into this Greg Vanney scheme and the LA Galaxy that he believes is a lot like what he used to play in Austin. So that's a really good interview, Diego Fagundes. So check it out, Pulso Sports and Soccer Bar as well. And obviously on Friday, we'll be at the training ground with the Seattle Sounders, getting ready for this Cascadia rivalry, a big, huge game for both of these clubs. So we'll try to talk to as many people as possible. And there's also something that's coming up that might maybe not surprise everybody, but we might have a really good exclusive coming up here in about a week.
Ooh, exclusive. He mentions the E word, drops the E word on here. As always, speaking of E, at El Rolo NW, our friend Niko Moreno coming in for Thursdays with Niko. Niko, since you are the last element of the show, and since you are here with us, I will let you have the honors and send us home for a Thursday as we come back here at 9:05 tomorrow morning. Let me tease what's going on. Darren Van Tassel, owner of South Georgia Tormenta, they have their home regular season finale as they're chasing a USL League One playoff spot. Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. We can whip around at 10. Chaos on a Friday. Niko, send us home.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend, because I won't see you guys. Make sure that you guys are following and subscribing always to SDH, the #1 best. My guy, John, hardest working man in the East Coast, man, maybe the whole nation. So I appreciate it. So if you want, give Pulso Sports Soccer Bar a follow. Check it out. You want your Spanish content? We got it. Mondays and Thursdays, all right? Make sure that you're following that. 9 a.m. Pacific time. What is that Eastern time, John?
High noon, brother.
There you go. So there you have it. Everybody have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Play it safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. That means we get to do this back 9:05 tomorrow morning.